Dinosaur, written by Stephen Llewelyn and performed by Chris Barrie. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell to keep up to date with the latest installments.
Rose sat on a sofa in the miller's quarters. Her mother was in the bathroom making sure that if she died, she would look dead good doing it. Rose, on the other hand, had opted to read through some of Tim's survival course informational handouts. He had created a short e-zine called Cretaceous Living, and seemed to think that the title was ironic. Rose didn't understand why. Being honest with herself, something else she was trying to get a handle on, she didn't get a lot of the things which made Tim and Woodsy snigger themselves into near suffocation. Her lips moved as she took a run at a long name. Agustinia ligabue. What is that? Latin? She read the footnote aloud. Sauropod dinosaur Middle Cretaceous period. Fossils found in Argentina. I'm never going to remember this stuff. Hang on a minute. I thought Tim said we were going to land in Patagonia, she said, shaking her head in confusion. If I ask him, I'm just going to feel stupid again. I just know it. Still, maybe a little embarrassment is better than being eaten by a, what was it? Agustinia? Better check what they ate. Herbivore. I think that means plant eater, and he's got a kind face on this picture, so that must be right. She frowned. Hope he doesn't have a taste for roses. Lost in deep concentration, the door chime startled her. Who could that be? Her father was on duty attempting to save the ship with the rest of the technical staff, having stated that he would not be back until A, the ship was saved, or B, the ship was lost, and they would be together for the end. Charming, Dad. Thanks for that, she muttered, getting out of her seat. Everyone else is meant to be in their quarters now, she thought. Doors locked and, as Lara put it, being good and doing as they're told. Rose walked to the door and, with more than a little trepidation, activated the small view screen to see who was outside. To her surprise, she knew the face well. Hank? She asked in disbelief. What are you doing out? Let me in, he said, desperately looking right and left. Let me in! Rose hit the pad, activating the door. As it slid open, Hank virtually launched himself into the room, but was snatched out of the air by a burly security guard. What are you doing out? The man repeated Rose's question, grasping the struggling teenager by his collar. I just needed to see my girl, Hank sputtered. Rose looked astonished. Your girl? She asked reflexively. The officer, whose name badge said Thomas, noticed the surprise on the girl's face and was immediately suspicious. Let's see what you've got in the bag there, lad, he said. No, said Hank more forcefully than he intended. I mean, it's nothing, just stuff. But the damage had been done. Corporal Thomas gave a double click on his comm, and within seconds the sound of booted feet ran down the corridor as his partner ran to join him. Hold him, Pete, said Thomas, while I search his bag. He's out against orders, and... The man tailed off. What's this? He said at last, looking up at Hank in shock. You're coming with me, matey. No, shouted Hank. Rose, I was just coming to see you, he called as he was being dragged away. I just wanted to ask you out in case we died. Rose was stunned, for a couple of reasons. Hank? She called. Lock the door, miss, said one of the officers as they dragged the young man away, struggling like a sack full of cats. Rose's mother entered the lounge just as the door was closing. Have I missed someone? She asked, looking disappointed. Having spent 3 hours in the bathroom, she was feeling the need for an audience to her magnificence. Rose simply stood, gaping like a fish's first glimpse of sky. She closed her mouth and opened it again. Eventually she declared, I've got to go. Activating the door control, she ran down the corridor after the guards. Lara Miller shook her artful curls and tutted. Kids. Bridge, Singh answered the comm automatically. This is Corporal Thomas, sir. I'm with Major White's security team, said a voice Singh did not recognise. Go ahead, Corporal, he replied. Sir, I've brought a young man to the brig. He was out of bounds, but that's not why I'm troubling you. He was carrying a black sports bag. This caught the captain's ear, and he walked to stand behind Singh. And in it were a few engineer's tools, a data clip, and one 9mm round, sir. Douglas and Singh stared at one another, astounded. At a loss for words to describe everything that needed his attention, Douglas seemed at sea for a moment. Singh picked up on his hesitation. I can hold it together here for a little while, sir. It's not crunch time yet, and this could be crucial. You should go, sir. Douglas nodded. Good man. I won't be long. Call me if you need to, and I'll double back. The bridge is yours, Lieutenant. Rose approached the forward connecting hatch between the pod and the ship. Naturally, there were a couple of burly security types barring her way. Before they could apprehend her for being out of her quarters, she asked, Can I come through, please? My friend has just been carried off by a couple of guards. The security people looked nonplussed, but one of them made a call. Douglas arrived at the brig on the run, hitting the door chime. In but a moment, the small view screen lit up, the duty guard identified him, and the doors unsealed and slid open. Captain, Thomas greeted him with a salute. Douglas returned his salute, asking, What's all this then, Corp? Thomas led the captain to a cell holding a frightened-looking young man. And who might this be? Asked Douglas. Hank Bernstein, replied the corporal. Junior. Douglas's eyebrows rose. Bernstein? Again? We should reserve your family a suite in here. Maybe your daddy would like to sponsor it? We understand he enjoys putting his name on things. The Bernstein wing, perhaps, he cracked. The bag's over there, sir, Thomas said, pointing. Unfortunately, due to the nature of its discovery, it's been handled. We haven't searched its pockets yet. I've put a call out for Dr. Wright to look it over for genetic traces, but with the crisis, well, we won't be getting an answer today, he finished. Or maybe ever, thought Douglas darkly. He nodded, striding back to the young man. You'd better start talking, and make it fast, laddie. We're properly under the gun here, he demanded. Hank stood and walked to the bars. Sir, he stammered, I don't know anything about it. Douglas gave him an old-fashioned scowl, leaning closer to the bars himself. Try again, laddie, he added dangerously. Hank swallowed. I was afraid that we might all die soon, he blurted out. And I had to tell her. Well, you know. Douglas frowned, in confusion this time. He wasn't really sure what he had been expecting, but this was completely out of left field. What are you babbling about, son? Hank took a breath and tried again. Rose Miller, Dr. Miller's daughter, he said as if this explained everything. When Douglas didn't respond, he tried a third time. Well, I just wanted to ask her out, before it was too late. He trailed off under the blaze of the captain's glare. Douglas grabbed his shirt through the bars. If you think I've just left the bridge of a ship in crisis to run down here to listen to your teenage angst about some slip of a lassie, you can think again, he shouted, shaking the young man. Tell me, he added slowly, about that bag. I found it, Hank said quickly. In a janitor's cupboard, in the res area of the pod. He went on to explain how he had finally worked up the courage to go to Rose, reasoning that if they were all about to die, then why not? While on his way, he had found the bag, panicked, and ran to Rose's quarters, hoping to find Dr. Jim Miller in residence so that he could hand it over to someone senior. It was all I could think of to do, he said desperately. That was when I was caught out of bounds by security, and well, here I am, and no one will believe me. Hank finished his delivery just as a young woman was ushered into the brig by a guard. She ran over to his cell before anyone could grab her, holding his hands through the bars. It's all right, said Douglas, waving the guards down. So you would be Rose, Jim Miller's lassie, he asked. Yes, she said. Douglas nodded. How did I guess? He asked rhetorically. Rose turned to him. I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to him, she said, and turning back to Hank, repeated, Yes. This time Hank's befuddled mind got her meaning, and he whooped. The teenagers smiled at one another through the bars, temporarily alone in their world. Douglas stared at them in turn, wondering what the hell was wrong with them. He's not been caught pinching pies from the church picnic here. This young man has been arrested in connection with acts of terrorism and murder. He sputtered at last, outraged. He doesn't know anything about that, replied Rose matter-of-factly. Oh, well, if that's the case, maybe I should just let him go, eh? Douglas responded sarcastically. It's all right, he continued to the room at large. We can stand Detective Drummond down. Chief Superintendent Miller here has cleared it all up for us. There's no need to be grumpy, Rose answered, in a way that no lad that age would ever have gotten away with to a senior man like the captain. Hank was just coming to see me, that's all. Douglas's comm binged with a message. Singh needed him back on the bridge within the next 15 minutes. Right, he said, returning to the teenagers. You can stay here until we're able to sort this out. He gestured towards Hank. And you, he pointed a finger at Rose, can go back to your quarters to collect your mother before heading down to embarkation with the rest of the passengers. I want everyone in one place and strapped in. No! Both of the teenagers cried in unison. Douglas raised an eyebrow, indolently tapping a finger against his captain's insignia. Please, sir, said Hank. If we're in that much danger, can I be with my mother and my sister? Douglas logged the omission of Bernstein Sr. from the lad's list of people he wished to spend his final moments with. And I want to be with Daddy, announced Rose. If this is it, he'll need me there. Douglas thought for a moment before answering. He spoke to Rose first. You get your father's permission, and I'll consider it, he said. She turned away to calm her father. As for you, he continued, turning back to Hank, I'm sorry, laddie, but I can't release you now. But, Captain, I don't know anything about this. I just found the bag, Hank pleaded. Douglas nodded. And for myself, I believe you. But I'm responsible for all the lives on this ship. So you must understand that I can't release you whilst there's any doubt. You're a clever young man. I'm sure you see it. I'm sorry, really. He finished regretfully. I've messaged my father. He wasn't answering his comm, said Rose. Can I go to him now? Not until we hear back, said Douglas. It won't be a problem, Captain, she said, smiling sweetly. He's never said no to me. Is that a fact? Remarked Douglas sourly. A moment later, his comm binged with a message which he scanned quickly. It's Jim Miller, he said. Great, said Rose. So can I go to him then? Actually, no. Douglas looked up with a satisfied smile. He writes, Captain, we are all under enormous pressure, as I'm sure you know, to learn these systems and bring them online in sequence with everyone else. Added to this, I am informed that a murderer is on the rampage. It will be difficult enough to focus on the task at hand without worrying about the safety of my daughter. As I cannot leave my station, I therefore entrust my wife and daughter to your care in the surety that you will have them safely delivered to embarkation with the main group prior to starting our landing cycle. Thank you. And he signs it, J. Miller, Ph.D. Chem. That is your father, is it no? He asked sweetly. That was succinct, Hank commented with a sheepish grin. Both Douglas and Rose glared at him. Sorry, he mumbled. But he never says no. Rose looked like she had been slapped across the face. Douglas chuckled. Looks like he's learnt more than just our engine restart protocols this afternoon then, doesn't it? Rose frowned. I shouldn't have spoken to him like that, she said, almost to herself, shaking her head. Upset the old man, did you? Made him cross? Asked Douglas. No, worse than that, answered Rose thoughtfully. I think I might have encouraged him to become... She wore the expression of someone chewing on something disgusting as she sought the word. Independent, she added at last. Douglas chuckled again, calling Corporal Thomas to him. Corp, what's your next duty? He asked. I'm due to take over security in sick bay in a little over 20 minutes, sir, replied the soldier. Before you do, would you take Miss Miller back to her quarters, please? Douglas saw the look of despondency settle on Hank's face, making him seem impossibly young. "And whilst you're down in residential, could you call on the Bernsteins and invite them to spend the next few hours in the brig with their son? Make it clear they're invited as guests only." He quirked a little smile. "Don't want to give Bernstein Sr. an ulcer, do we? As Mr. Lloyd isn't using the other cell at the moment, 2 of them can stay in there, not locked in, of course. And 1 other can stay with young Hank here in the locked cell." He emphasized the word, making sure that Thomas caught his meaning. "As you will have observed already, Hank, these cells have 2 secure seats in each, all with safety harnesses so that any prisoners can be transported safely, yet securely, during takeoff and landing maneuvers. You and your family will be quite safe here while we attempt to land the ship." He tried to smile kindly at Bernstein Jr., but the thought of none of them being safe in any way whatsoever at the moment soured it a little, so that it came off as more of a grimace. "Try not to worry, laddie." He tried again with a little more success, but the young man had already brightened. "Thank you, Captain," said Hank. Rose looked intently at Douglas. "Captain," she asked, "if I can't go to my father, can I stay here too?" Douglas gave her an appraising look. "Sorry, Miss Miller," he said, "but there are only 5 seats, 4 for the Bernsteins and 1 for our security guard over there." He gestured to the chair Thomas had been using until the captain entered the room. "There might be a way, Captain," suggested Hank. "I doubt my father will come." Douglas looked genuinely surprised. "Really?" he asked. He knew Bernstein was a piece of work, but this actually shocked him. Hank nodded. Douglas evaluated the young man, a sad understanding registering in his eyes. "I have to go. Thomas, let the girl stay here for a while. If the big cheese doesn't deign to show, she can have his seat." He turned to leave when a thought struck him. "Miss Miller, what about your mother?" he asked. "Oh, she'll be all right," Rose answered scornfully, "as long as she's got her makeup bag and, most importantly, her mirror. If we die, the last person she'll see will be herself. You can be sure of that." Douglas raised his eyebrows again, but decided not to comment. "Carry on, Corporal," he said instead. Nodding to Thomas, he walked away, shaking his head. "Yes, sir," replied Thomas. Rose turned back to the cell. "Oh, Hank, I wish these weren't here," she said, gripping the bars. "Call me Henry," Hank Bernstein Jr. said with a sudden spontaneity. "Affiliation to my father's name used to open every door back home, but here it only seems to close those with bars," he frowned. "It's Henry," he said again, trying out the sound of it. It was another tiny freedom from his past, like a hint of blue on a grey day, offering the promise of more. "Yes, Henry." Hero and Giorgio ran around engineering like the beheaded hens of Proverb into everything. All the while, the Sarge kept station, trying to maintain a view of them both where possible. Speaking via a secure comm channel, Douglas quickly brought him up to speed, outlining Bernstein Jr.'s finding of the bag and their subsequent conversation in the brig.
"Bernstein?"
the Sarge blurted angrily. "Aye, I know," Douglas sympathized. "Stay with the engineers at all costs, Sarge. They're our lifeline." Closing the channel, Jackson approached Hero.
"Lieutenant," he asked, "how long will it take to reinitialize the system?"
"Now we've powered everything down, we have to restart 236 essential systems in just 4 hours, Nasaki replied. "That's 1 a minute," Giorgio chipped in morosely. Jackson sensed both engineers' gloom.
"I can see you're worried," he said. "Forgive my ignorance, but isn't any of it automated? It all sounds a bit old school."
"That's the thing, Sarge," Hero answered. "Most of the computing power on spaceships is pretty ancient. That's deliberate because the technology's simple, reliable, and proven. Basically, it's about as bulletproof as computer tech can be. Do you see? Unfortunately, the downside is that it's unsophisticated and a bit rubbish." "What we have to do," Giorgio said, continuing the explanation,
whilst Hero stuck his head into another bulkhead in order to access some old-fashioned switchgear. "Is get the systems back online, one at a time and in order, like an electronic daisy chain. Now this wouldn't be a problem in a normal maintenance situation. We would simply amble around the ship over the next 24 hours, 36 if the captain was too busy to notice, making sure everything came online with all overlapping systems joined up neatly. There would be plenty of time to rerun an operation should a complication or confliction arise. Unfortunately, our situation means we have to bring everything back to life in rapid succession with an extended, inexperienced team strung all over the ship. A team who've had just a couple of hours remote training via a comm channel by the pilot."
Be careful what you ask for,
Jackson thought. "Bridge to engineering." The comm came to life with Singh's voice.
"This is Hero, Sandeep. Go ahead."
"All our teams are in place and are—" He paused uncomfortably. "Ready?" he stated while asking.
"That good, eh?" Giorgio observed sourly.
"They'll do their best, and their best will have to do," Singh assured, attempting to prop up their mood with a little optimism.
"Hey, that's pretty good," said Hero. "You should write it down the next time we're not all about to die."
"Thank you," replied Singh. "Any idea when that might be?" Hero snorted.
"All right, we're as ready as we're going to be. I'm routing a comm channel to all teams. Team 1, are you on station?"
"Affirmative," said a voice which sounded like Patel.
"Okay, everyone," concluded Hero. "Let's see if we can win the prestigious 99,200,000 BC Gates Networking Award."
Singh monitored the engine restart process from his station on the bridge. It was frustratingly slow. Gradually, he became aware of a voice speaking his name.
Sandy?
"Huh? Oh, sorry, sir. We're 3 minutes behind schedule after the first hour and a half," he reported to the captain.
Thank you, but that wasn't actually what I asked you.
"Sir?
How are you doing, Sandy? You've been staring at that screen for over an hour without a word."
Singh took a deep breath and let it out. "I'm sorry, Captain. It's just hard to sit here waiting for our turn with so much going on," he said.
"I know what you mean, but we dare not move," replied Douglas. "Aside from periodic prompts and acceptances, when our turn comes round again, we're going to have it all to do to get back on track. But I didn't have to tell you that."
"Yes, sir. The bridge elements of the setup are second only to engineering in terms of scope and complexity." He turned his seat to face Douglas. "Ordinarily, this operation is mind-numbingly dull and long-winded. What I wouldn't give for a little boredom now," he added ruefully.
Mother Sarah was pacing.
"And are you okay, Sarah?" asked Douglas.
"Yeah,"
she said.
"No,"
she followed up immediately with a little smile.
"I would like to go and see the crew, Captain, especially the passengers. My mission here is to provide comfort to people in times of trouble, and I don't seem to be doing that at the moment. Would it be okay for me to make a tour of the ship? Even the restart crews, if possible. Only the ones who are waiting and not immediately involved, of course,"
she offered, stalling his complaint.
"Please, Captain, I need to be with the people who are afraid for their lives, trying to give them hope. That was my promise to God."
Douglas understood.
"Trouble is, Sarah, I can't spare any guards for you at the moment. They're all assigned to protect the work crews, and there's still a killer out there who may have plans to stop us from saving ourselves."
"Why would the killer care about me with all these important engineers and scientists carrying out essential work?"
she answered soothingly.
"I don't need an escort, James. The Lord is with me. Besides, you have so many temporary security all over the ship at the moment that I doubt I'll be able to walk 30 paces between posts."
Douglas rubbed the new stubble on his jaw uncomfortably.
"Okay, Sarah, if you're sure. I suppose we all have our duty, and it would be unfair of me to stand in the way of yours. I must ask you to stay away from the teams who are working, though. They must not have their focus broken, however well intended."
"I can do that. Thank you, Captain."
She nodded, leaving the bridge with a victorious smile on her lips.
Patricia and Tim Norris waited patiently at their allotted station with a female security officer named Jennifer O'Brien. Major White had flat refused Tim's presence on the restart team at first, due to the danger of attack. He had ordered the young man down to embarkation with the other passengers until the crisis was over. Tim had argued that if his mum was in danger, he wanted to be with her, and if the whole ship was going down, he wanted to be with her. This was such an unassailable logic that White had finally relented, albeit with reservations. Patricia was glad to have her son where she could protect him, with her life, if necessary. It also became clear very quickly that Tim had more of a knack with these old-fashioned style computer interfaces than his mother, scientist or no. This caused Patricia to wonder how her contemporaries were faring, probably wishing they had a kid with them to make them feel slow and plodding, she mused. Few of them would have any experience with such old-fashioned gear, but kids can intuit anything. She watched her son with pride as his fingers flew over the disconnected panel in one last practice run. Yes, he's got it, she thought. The elevator doors near their station opened. O'Brien snapped into action instantly, placing herself in front of the Norrises, her stun rifle raised at hip height, with the stock folded down to keep the weapon short for close-quarters combat. A tea trolley trundled out of the elevator, blocking the open doorway. O'Brien stepped cat-like to the side of the door, her weapon tucked into her chest, barrel pointed at the ceiling. She took a last breath, preparing herself to turn into the lift and fire if necessary, when a grunt, followed by a massive heave, sent the trolley out into the corridor. "These wheels always get stuck in the darn step between the lift car and the deck," complained Mary Hutchins, flushed. "You'd have thought NASA would have given more thought to the supply of coffee and donuts, wouldn't you? Oh, my." She trailed off, staring down the barrel of the stun rifle. O'Brien relaxed, but only slightly. "What's your business here?" "Tea and biscuits?" Mary offered nervously. "Ah, momentous!" said Tim, springing up from where he had been sitting and pushing O'Brien's rifle aside in his haste to inspect the contents of the trolley. "I'll have a Coke, please." O'Brien scowled, nonplussed. Momentous?" asked Mary. Patricia rolled her eyes. "It's the way kids speak at the moment back home. Last year anything good was sinister. This year it's momentous," she explained, shaking her head. "Ah," Mary nodded, understanding. "Well, I don't know about momentous," she added, smiling indulgently at the teenager. "But I can rustle up a pretty awesome cup of British tea, if you prefer something warm to keep you going." Tim raised an eyebrow. "British tea? Will this one be made with brackish water, too? Ow!" His comment was truncated by a clack around the ear from his mother. "Sorry," Patricia apologized. To Tim's annoyance, she was speaking to Mary, not him. Mary laughed good-naturedly. "It's all right. Tim has a point," she said. "You should have seen the rubbish NASA tried to palm off on us. But I had a word with Captain Douglas. He told them to sort their act out, refusing to go anywhere without a stock of genuine Earl Grey from Northumberland. That's near where he grew up, I understand." "That's my favourite place," said Tim wistfully. "I saw a stag and one of the last red squirrels there when I was 7, he recalled with animation. He was about to elaborate on their family trip to the Great Cheviot Nature Reserve, one of the last green places in Britain, when all the lights went out. Dr. Dave Flanagan plodded into sick bay, exhausted. All he wanted was a 5-minute sit-down with a cup of black coffee. The security guard posted to watch Lieutenant Lloyd straightened and saluted as he entered. Flanagan returned the salute. "All quiet, Corporal?" he asked. "As the grave, sir." Let's not jump the gun, eh?" replied the doctor deadpan as he glared at Lloyd's repose. "I see Sleeping Beauty hasn't stirred. Has Dr. Schultz or Nurse Smith returned yet?" "Not for a time, sir," replied Thomas. "They've both been in separately to get a stack of stimulants. Dr. Schultz was the last to come and go. That would have been about 10 minutes ago." Flanagan nodded. "I suppose I'd better just check on our perennial resident.
Anyone would think he was collecting coupons or something,
he muttered sourly.
Is that care miles, sir?
Asked Thomas. Flanagan chuckled appreciatively as he walked over to Lloyd's bed. Lloyd had not fully regained consciousness since the head injury. After running all the usual scans, Flanagan had put him into a light, healing coma for 48 hours.
"He'll miss all the fun, sleeping like a baby in here, drifting off easily while we burn alive, or waking up back on Earth, after all the terror and hard work's over."
He shook his head in annoyance.
"Of all the people aboard this ship that I would love to save from fear and danger, I get this guy. The trouble with swearing to help anyone and everyone, Corp, doing no harm, is that when all you really want to do is kick their asses, the Hippocratic Oath starts to feel more hypocritic. Still, I signed on to help 'em all, so I better do my duty."
Flanagan was suddenly distracted, staring in puzzlement at the monitoring equipment.
"These readouts are showing diagnostic results for the machine, rather than his vitals,"
he continued, almost to himself as he played with the settings. Thomas walked closer. "Doctor?" he asked.
"He's not breathing!"
Flanagan shouted, as all the lights went out.
Dinosaur, written by Stephen Llewelyn and performed by Chris Barrie. New installments uploaded each week. Subscribe for more. Visit the link in the description for free New World companion stories, available for download as ebooks.